Good morning, everyone. This is another update on Hurricane Melissa, which is now currently at Category 5 intensity as of the latest 9Z update, with winds of 160 miles per hour and a minimum central pressure of 917 millibars. This is because of aircraft reconnaissance data that we have just managed to retrieve, and there has been some pretty significant information as a result of this mission. The key messages are very, very extreme, and they must be abided by. We've got about 24 hours before landfall at most, but it could be even less. And they are simple, at least for Jamaica. Do not venture out of your safe shelter. It's absolutely critical you now stay where you are. Preparations should have been finished now. Any last small preparations that can be done, get them finished ASAP. It is absolutely crucial that you are safe. Impacts are going to be probably beyond ever seen before in many people's lives. It is very extreme, and I might get called out for, exaggerating this probably overly, but I cannot emphasize how catastrophic these impacts are probably going to be. And there will be undeniably too many people not prepared, as is usual in some of these undeveloped areas part of the world. But nonetheless, regardless if you are prepared or not, this is going to be a massive hit. You are going to have significant damage for weeks upon end. It will be a long recovery process after this. Make sure you are prepared, because there are going to be significant risks, absolutely significant, very massive risks to life and property. And obviously I will put extra note now to the Haiti and Dominican Republic areas, which are also going to be continuing to see catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding and landslides from the excessive rainfall that is going to be continuing. This will also extend over to Cuba, particularly when a landfall happens there later on in a few days. But yeah, the main focus currently, I will continue to put the most emphasis on Jamaica. A landfall will be happening in the near future at a similar intensity to now. Residents there should absolutely be finishing all the preparations that they can now and must be taking shelter immediately. Let's take a look a bit more at how it looks like right now. So we've got this absolutely high-end, almost upper echelon appearance. Really, we've got this very nice, defined, cold and symmetric central dense overcast with, if you look at the infrared imagery, a somewhat shrinking eye there, but it's absolutely clear. We see these infrared eye temperatures going up all the way to 20 degrees and have actually held there for several hours, multiple hours, if not multiple hours, almost a whole day now. It's maintained above 15 degrees or so. It is absolutely incredible. We can see there I managed to get up to just above 15 degrees at around 10Z just after 9Z yesterday, and we are now recording at 9Z today. It's been a good 24 hours with this maintenance of a very high infrared measured eye temperature. And if we just go back to this, we see incredible, almost buzzsaw kind of structure, very stable central dense overcast, almost suggestive of a very high-end intensity that you very rarely see in tropical cyclones. So much so that if we look at the automated advanced Dvorak technique analysis here, it has managed to go to the absolute upper echelon intensity of 8.1. If you guys don't understand the Dvorak technique too much, the 8.1 basically does mean an intensity of around 170 knots. You very rarely see this in tropical cyclones, and also a low pressure of 886 millibars. The final T is obviously 8. It actually went up a little bit higher than this earlier on, but nonetheless, this is absolutely incredible. There are some inaccuracies with this technique. Obviously, you can't use this standalone, you can't use this on its own. There are flaws, there are some inconsistencies with this, but nonetheless, it does kind of suggest just how incredible this system looks. It quantifies it in a sense. it is absolutely magnificent. Although probably not for Jamaica. Jamaica will be bearing the brunt of this in not too long. Seriously, something that needs to be watched out. It is absolutely devastating that we are going to have to see this almost ramage into land. It's not going to be particularly good. If we also look at water vapor as well, what's actually quite interesting is the drying of the eye. If we look at water vapor imagery, we see it's again very moist, central and overcast there, not surprising. What's also noticeable is this upper level cirrus, which we've been looking at over the course of the last few days. Again, very strong upper level divergence feeding into the subtropical jet. It is helping the system maintain its very high intensity. But yeah, most importantly, we've got that very dry eye there that's also shrinking, but yeah, I've just discussed that. Very dry eye there. We can even look at the chart there on the progression of the water vapor temperature, and yeah, it's just been steadily going up over the past day. It's going up all the way to, it's almost reaching -10. One of the most driest eyes, one of the driest eyes that I've seen, and yeah, we are going to probably get even further, even more drier. This is absolutely incredible, the progression on satellite imagery that we're seeing with Hurricane Melissa here. Let's look at the recon data that I ended up mentioning that ended up resulting in the upgrade to Category 5 intensity by the National Hurricane Center. First of all, if we take a look here, we see that we have a continued pressure drop, 925, 921, and those are obviously from the vortex data messages. If we look at the center drop zones here and the estimated minimum pressures, this takes into account the wind factor and what kind of reductions you need to be doing based on the wind found in the center. As I discussed in the last video, there is going to be a 1 millibar decrease for every 10 knots observed in the drop zone result at the surface, and that kind of gets this nice deepening rate of about 2 to 3 millibars an hour. If we look down here as well, it does go a bit lower than 920, even though we saw that drop zone of 921 millibars there. That was converted as a result of having winds. For example, initially at 921, we had 9 knots, so you'd probably reduce that to 920 millibars, given you'd reduce for a full 10 knots there. And then you'd also have a 919 millibar zone there, which actually isn't on the initial plot here, but it is here. 919 millibars, you got 22 knots. You'll lower that down by 2 millibars as a result of this 22 knot wind. And yeah, we can see this progression of deepening through time over the course of the past few days. And yeah, we had that steady drop all the way down to below 920 millibars. If you guys aren't familiar with minimum central pressure, 920s and below typically is indicative of a Category 5 globally. Sometimes you'll get Category 5s which are just between 920 millibars and 930 millibars. But yeah, so far we haven't had the winds observed at flight level to really convert down to the surface and justify a Category 5 estimation until now. But yeah, nonetheless, over the past few days we've had a very strong storm just meandering, and now it will be making that turn into Jamaica, unfortunately. Here's also something else to note. We got this nice eyewall drop zone. This is in the North Eyewall earlier, 806Z, so actually not that long ago. We're talking about an hour at the time of recording. We see this reduction to surface of sustained winds of 131 knots after conversion from the mean wind in the lowest 150 meters being 156, and we also got the 500 millibar winds, these being in the boundary layer, 160 knots being converted to 128 knots. Now the reason I'm pointing these out and not these out is because these are instantaneous winds measured by the drop zone as it goes down towards the surface. So these are considered gusts, and we don't consider them for sustained winds. If we did, we'd be considering 160 knot intensity right now, which is not what the National Hurricane Center has gone with. Again, these are gusts, not to be taken at face value. These rather, with conversions, they can be used a bit more at face value, although we do have other data proving that the system is a bit stronger. But yeah, we can see here we've got that temperature profile going down to the surface, 24.8 degrees. And then we can also see these winds are actually quite strong. You know, these are gusts, but these are powerful gusts going up a little bit further aloft. And we also got to consider that because of the system's intensity, you know, and 943 millibars being at the surface, we've got these levels which are actually not that far up above the surface. And yet we're getting these very intense winds. So we'll see these winds getting mixed down over time. If the current intensification phase continues, we should see mixing down, at least slightly to some extent, mixing down on some of these winds. And if we go down to the discussion, actually, we'll be able to see that yes, this intensification phase is expected to continue for a bit more, with a peak intensity now forecast at 145 knots or 165 miles per hour in 12 hours. Before slightly weakening and then moving inland over Jamaica. But nonetheless, this weakening is going to be, if anything, quite negligible. Absolutely no change in kind of what is going to be felt on the ground is going to be happening. We're going to get a very devastating storm nonetheless. Now we'll look at some of the model solutions here. Quite important that we do still continue looking at these because impacts are going to be happening later down the line in Cuba, the Bahamas, and in Bermuda. Bermuda should be watching this now. And if we just look at the half-speed solution here, which is done actually quite fairly well, we can see here that from the initialization of 0Z, we got 3Z, continued intensification 6Z, although we do have this kind of 6 millibar rise at 9Z, and if anything, the long-term trend here is just a bit of a sustaining pattern in. We can see this is as a result of an idle replacement cycle modelled on this solution. And the lowest it gets to is 922 millibars. But still, it maintains a strong intensity in the 920s millibars, and yeah, it makes landfall just near the 930 pressure. Still a devastating storm. So we are not expecting significant weakening before landfall, and just to note, landfall is pretty much guaranteed at this point in Jamaica. There's no getting away from that, and yeah, strong intensity, absolutely very likely. Now, post-Jamaica, we are going to get a bit of a reckoning of that structure because of that mountainous terrain that Melissa will be passing over initially. But nonetheless, the environment does remain conducive for that system to maintain its intensity. Low-end major hurricane, high-end category 2. But nonetheless, we'll be moving into Cuba, some strong impacts, strong winds, storm surge, rainfall. Again, as I mentioned, it'll be going. And yeah, there will be some significant impacts. And we can see this banding as well. If I should bring my pen out here, we can see it's banding, very, very, very prevalent. And yeah, it'll be moving just over Cuba, over Cuba and over Haiti. That very significant rainfall threat will be continuing and must be continued to be watched over the next few days. It won't be stopping anytime soon. After Cuba, yeah, there's going to be some more damage. Very broad wind field and core here. If we just look, let's compare the core size here. We look. We've got this nice core of rain and reflectivity values here modelled. And we just look, see how it expands beyond my circle after Cuba, after Jamaica and Cuba, and it moves through the Bahamas. That was the initial circle. Now we've got a much broader swath of reflectivity values or rainfall now expanding over there. Land interaction can really pack a punch and wreck and most importantly broaden the structure. This will be important because impacts are going to be very likely to be much more extensive across Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, going up further northwest, and the storm surge will probably be more significant here as well, given this size. It's important to consider. And then, yeah, even though it is broad, the environment does actually kind of remain somewhat conducive. I discussed last time as it enters into the southwest Atlantic, its position relative to the jet stream, and still oceanic content being somewhat favourable still, despite the shear, will allow for some final deepening to happen at this phase. We saw with the Google DeepMind ensemble. I believe it still shows some intensification as well happening at this time. The National Hurricane Center forecast doesn't suggest this yet, but it is a distinct possibility that is very much possible and must be considered. Bermuda will be seeing effects from this later down the line if it does materialise. And yeah, speaking of Bermuda, we'll be able to see here, that is the island. That's the island right there. I can't draw properly, sorry. See that island right there, and we see, yeah, it does deepen on its way, but it actually does begin to weaken as it moves through. I'm not sure where it actually goes. Oh, yeah, I've found it. There you go. This time on this solution in particular, half speed does get Melissa quite close to Bermuda, and yeah, we had the broad swath of precipitation moving over the island, heavy rainfall, flash flooding, but also those strong winds and storm surge will be impacting the island likely earlier on in the week. We don't exactly know. There's still quite a bit of track uncertainty. It could be a bit further away from Bermuda than here. It's going to be important to continue to monitor. If we look at the soundings from the GFS, for example, here, just to look at the environment a bit better, just obviously know that there will be a bit of an under-modelling of the intensity, as is normal of global models at this time. We're in this kind of situation. But yeah, we can kind of see this environment isn't all that unfavourable. There is still some max shear in the mid-low levels-ish, but so far we've managed to see that Melissa's managed to actually hold on with it, and it's managed to keep up and stay strong despite these conditions. Generally, deep layer flow though isn't too bad, especially after Jamaica. It's not too bad, 11 knots, fairly moderate. That max shear stays fairly consistent, like how it has been. 400, 850. It's not too bad, even though it's going to start interacting with that trough after Cuba. It will be a bit broader, so you know, broader systems will typically intensify a bit more slowly. It's worth considering that. And yeah, we can also see that southwesterly flow intensifying across the deep levels there. We see that holograph pattern now on this top right of the chart, of the graph, as it moves northeastwards. And we do see that kind of displacement of those relative humidity values, or the core structure does become a bit more displaced there as a result of the shear. We can see here that there is quite fast flow, even extending up to 40, 50 knots there in the higher levels, but yeah, still quite noticeably strong with movement in particular. So the concern here will be generally shear coming in from the southwest, and yeah, we have that pattern here now where it actually goes past Bermuda. We see this displacement of the convective canopy to the east as it interacts with that trough. Let's take a look at the EPS ensemble just to get a bit of an idea on track here within this global ensemble model. And yeah, again, I just want to make clear, almost certain that we are going to be going through Jamaica. Now, there has been a bit of a shift in the track, a bit late of a shift since yesterday. We are going to see a landfall probably a bit further to the west now. I did say, ideally, in my opinion, it would be probably a bit better to go towards Montego Bay if you want to be a bit better with the impacts. At this point, there is absolutely no guarantee anywhere it's going to be safe. I mean, I've actually said that already. It's always been this way. But there is always going to be a life-threatening hazard wherever you go. In this case, Montego Bay could probably be in one of the stronger affected areas by the core as Melissa moves through the west of the island. We've also got this heavy rainfall, let's not forget, on the east side that I've pointed out for a few days. It's going to be catastrophic there. Anywhere you go, you're going to feel the brunt if you're on the island anywhere. So make sure you stay safe again, follow the advice, absolutely critical. Once it moves past Jamaica, that certainty for Cuba landfall again stays. I'm going to be fairly confident and say Cuba landfall, almost certain. So, you know, if you're not evacuated yet out of Eastern Cuba and you can evacuate, please do so. Impacts there are probably going to be quite significant as well. Although nowhere near as significant as in Jamaica now. It'll probably be somewhere category 3 intensity, maybe low end category 4 even, as it moves through Eastern Cuba. And yeah, Bahamas, we'll be seeing some significant impacts as well, especially as that system ends up broadening out. If I end up just showing, here actually, I end up showing kind of what actually the uncertainty looks like between the members. Surprisingly, some of the EPS members actually do take it offshore Jamaica to the west. This isn't likely we are now starting to see a bit of a turn northwards as I speak right now. And yeah, there's fairly confident I am that we are going to get a landfall, given that that's where most of the guidance is heading, and it's quite tight now at this range. But something to consider, we'll have to watch near term wobbles, track trends, because it could easily change in favour of some of those ensemble members. You never know. With regards to Cuba, yeah, almost all those, yeah, if anything, almost all ensemble members do go through Eastern Cuba and the Bahamas. And yeah, those members do broaden out a little bit. That uncertainty does increase, especially with timing, because there will be uncertainty between the members with regards to trough evolution to the northwest. Have to see how that evolves. There's uncertainty with that. So there will be some discrepancy within the guidance, and yeah, as usual, 5-day range, we are going to get some significant uncertainty between the members as it approaches Bermuda and moves into the southwest Atlantic. And yeah, I'll go and discuss the Google DeepMind ensemble, because now that we've reached Category 5 intensity, we can safely say that the ensemble forecasts have actually verified quite well. And yeah, we can still see that there is a significant amount of members which are forecasting a high intensity, Category 5. We are probably still going to see some significant intensification happening over the next day or so, before some slight weakening, moving into Jamaica. What's interesting, if we just look here, we do see that slight rebound there. I've mentioned that for a couple of days. Again, certainly possible that environment won't be too different compared to what we have right now as it turns north. And it might be conducive to get it up back to a Category 4 if it does weaken down to a 3. And then, yeah, again, moving into the open Atlantic, intensification certainly possible. And the Google DeepMind ensemble members do show it. We could probably get back to a Category 3 at least. Some members suggest a Category 4 at this time, before some slow weakening as it approaches Bermuda and moves into the mid-latitudes. This is the National Hurricane Center forecast cone. Actually, that is not the latest one, but we will have the latest one now in a second, if it just loads. In the meantime, we'll look at the rainfall forecast. This is the 4-day rainfall forecast issued at 21Z yesterday. It should still show the whole picture really and what could be happening, despite it being a little bit outdated, but nonetheless it does show exactly what we've been discussing over the past few days. Rainfall threat over the Tiburon Peninsula and the Southern Dominican Republic, very widespread again. Please know that the hazard is still there, significant, despite Melissa being all the way down here. But yeah, Jamaica, I've already said, up to 40 inches, absolutely possible. Widespread, 20 to 30 inches of rainfall over much of the island, with slightly less on the western side. But given the western track trends that we've seen recently, we could see much higher rainfall totals there across Montego Bay as well. So none of Jamaica is going to be spared. We are going to have significant rainfall everywhere. It's going to be quite disastrous, as I hate to say it. And then yeah, Cuba, we've also mentioned there's going to be this rainfall maxima there as well. We're looking at 16-20 inches, probably isolated above 20 inches, near 25. Although the uncertainty is a little bit more here, given the fact that there's going to be a bit of a track discrepancy, as I pointed out earlier. And yeah, down by Bermuda later on, again, we'll see that kind of convective canopy sheared, moving towards Bermuda, but the system will be moving a bit faster, so there will be a lesser rainfall risk. But I can't provide too much details there, as it's outside the map, and it's also beyond the 4-day range. So, that is Melissa, Hurricane Melissa, now a Category 5 hurricane. That's the discussion if you want to read it on nhc.noaa.gov or hurricanes.gov. And you got your key messages again here. Absolutely strong wording. Please abide, and please make sure you take all the precautions you can while you still can, while it's still possible. There is genuine threat to life here, genuine risk to life. A lot is on the table here. Jamaica could be seeing among one of the worst hurricanes it's ever seen in history. Yeah, definitely some unprecedented impacts for some. Please prepare. I wish you all good luck. I'll keep you guys updated, especially after it goes through Jamaica, going through Cuba later down the line. Impacts are nowhere near finished. much the Greater Antilles will be seeing some significant effects. Stay safe, guys, and yeah, I am hoping all the best for Jamaica. It's going to be a bad hurricane, and that is an understatement. Thanks for watching, guys.